What is up, guys? Team Yugi here with another deck profile, and today we're going to be taking a look at Infernoids. This is one of my probably top 10 favorite decks of all time, top 10, top 5. I've had fairly good success with this deck in the past. I've played in some bigger tournaments that I've done well in. And overall, I just think that the deck is a lot of fun to play. It's something that is definitely an off-meta call, but if you play it right and you know how to counter the current meta, you'll definitely have an easier time playing the deck. It's just like any rogue deck, you have to know how to counter the meta and whether or not your deck has the proper means to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase basically the list that I'm playing right now and show you just the cards in general that I think are worth playing, and the side and extra deck, which is always a bonus. The side deck with this is a little 50-50 right now, but I always say the side deck is 50-50. But I really like it still. I think that it's really good. I just think one or two cards are interchangeable with other things. But we'll get into that when we get to it. So we have 2 Infernoid Anunku and 2 Infernoid Deviati. These are your board clearers. Deviati clears the spells and traps, and Anunku clears the monsters, and then they negate the opposite of that. So like Deviati negates monster effects and Anunku negates spells and traps. So basically they're multi-purpose, which is really cool. I play 1 Atandal. I just think that it's really good being able to swing twice with the 2800 beater. That's pretty strong. 2 Sightsamas. He's probably my favorite Infernoid in the deck. Being able to banish stuff at the end of battle phase is really important, and overall the fact that he's a level 7 can help you with Decatron plays for sure. That way you're not exceeding the amount on your field. We play the 1 Sajet. As much as I can't stand this card, it's kind of needed for your Void Feast double Decatron combo, so playing the 1 Sajet is worth it. 2 Patrulia. Card's pretty good. It's just a back row removal, and it's a level 4, so you're not exceeding your limits excessively with your Infernoid stuff. 1 Infernoid Harmadic. I just think that this is a really solid one of, but I don't think you need to play multiples of it. The ability to pop a monster is just solid overall. 1 Infernoid Antra. This is a bounce, which I think is really important considering Golden Lord typically won't be able to be destroyed by card effects. Being able to bounce it is really solid. I contemplated playing 2 of it, but if I were to play 2, I would replace the next card with a second Antra, and that is 1 Infernoid Permace. This is the one that not many people play, but I think is really good because you just target one of your opponent's back row and you spin it, and they can't chain to it, which is really nice because then you kind of force the activation when it's summoned, which is just an amazing effect. Like, that's just really strong. And then of course 3 Decatron, just the technically the best Infernoid for like his effects and things that he can do, but I still like Sightsamas more. That's just a biased opinion though. But that is all the monsters. We don't play any hand traps in here. It's just not worth playing hand traps in the main deck. But moving on to the spell cards now. We have 3 Void Vanishment. Vanishment is basically your search for the deck. You discard a card, and then you get to search for a Void spell or trap. It has other effects too, such as like a banishing effect after battle, and the fact that it locks you out from special summoning, other than Infernoids if you use the effect. But that's kind of like the nitty-gritty stuff, which a lot of times you don't even have to worry about. 3 Void Imagination. I think Imagination is probably the best Void spell, even though you have the trap card like Feast, which Feast is really good. I just think that Imagination is so much better. Being able to fusion summon and send multiple Infernoids from deck, it's just super crazy. Then I do play 1 Void Apocalypse, which is the newer Infernoid or Void spell, I should say. Really solid card overall. Being able to send multiple Infernoids from deck, that just gives you a whole lot of firepower to work with. That way your opponent can't do as much to counter your entire board, which is really important. There's a lot of times where it comes in handy. Then we play 3 Pot of Extravagance. The Extravagance is really useful in this deck because your extra deck, although it's important, it's not completely a necessity. So playing the Extravs is definitely worth it. And if you can't afford them, then don't play them. It's good, but it's not a necessity if you can't afford them. Then we play 3 Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler is really good in this deck because you want to go second, and you just want to lock your opponent out and kind of counter their board. So playing the Dark Ruler is fully necessary in my opinion. Then we play 3 Layer of Darkness. Being able to tribute your opponent's monsters for card effects is just amazing in this deck, considering all the Infernoid monsters have their DD Crow abilities, which require tributing a monster. So being able to tribute your opponent's monsters with Layer of Darkness is amazing. Really, really amazing. Then we play the 1 Terraforming just to search them out. That's kind of self-explanatory. Then for just the remaining spell cards, I play 3 Monster Gate and 1 Reasoning. So I think that playing 3 and 1, obviously you can't play more than 1 Reasoning. I wish you could, but playing the 3 and 1 I think is really, really good overall. The Reasoning itself is just amazing, being able to mill through your deck. Even if they call 1 and you don't get to summon the Decatron, that's fine, because you're going to get to mill multiple Infernoids, and then you can probably have more fodder to summon Infernoids, which is really, really good. That's all the spells though. Moving on to the traps, I play 3 Imperm and 1 Void Feast. I think that this is a really, really good trap lineup. I don't think you need any more than this. I think playing multiple Void Feast, even though you can do the double Void Feast combo, is not really worth it. It's way too much chance and luck that you see it. I'd rather just play the 1 Feast and call it at that. And then the Imperms are obviously just good for monster negations because it can't get called by, which is really good. That is the main deck though. I believe it's 41 cards. I opted to play 41 because you're doing a lot of milling, and I don't mind playing 1 extra card if it means that it could stop me from decking out or just grant me more resources. The 41st card was the other Void spell, the new one. I'll just pull it out again so you can see it, which is Void Apocalypse, just so you can see it. This is my 41st card. If you don't want to play it, you can cut it and play 40 cards and just kind of work from there. But I really like the card, so I play it. Moving on to the extra deck, I play 1 Gravity Controller. This is just for your Infernoid Tierra. It doesn't come up super often. There are times where it will, but honestly, it's probably the least summoned card in the extra deck. Then I play 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice. This is probably the 2nd least summoned card in the extra deck, but it does come up with Layer of Darkness, so I can't say that it's not summoned because it does still get summoned. Then I play 2 Hida. I think that 2 Hida is very important with this deck, especially if your opponent has like an Ash or another fire monster in their graveyard. This deck basically has an auto win against Salad, to be honest, because the amount of graveyard banishing and the ability to play Hidas to steal their cards, it's just absolutely nuts. Really, really nuts. Then 2 Crusadia Ecomax. I think that 2 Ecomax is probably the best ratio that you can play for it. I don't think playing 1 is that good because there are times where you can really just blow your opponent out of the water and OTK them with this card. There are times that you can't, but typically if you see it, you can. Then the other link 3 is the Trisbana for pesky back row decks. Obviously pesky back row decks can get punished pretty badly by that card. Then I play 1 Zeroboros. Zeroboros obviously just clears the whole field, which is really nice. So this and Trisbane are overall just solid cards. And then for your big beater, we have the Access Code Talker, which the Access Code Talker can definitely play through some boards and smack your opponent for some very, very large damage. And if you go like Trisbana, you banish their back row, and then you summon the Talker and you target the Trisbana, then you're probably going to be able to OTK them most likely. Actually be able to summon an Infernoid monster after that too. So they're going to take burn damage, and they're going to take just too many attack points worth of damage to survive. Then I play triple Entis. This is just for the Tierra. You can play 3 of it too because of the extravagance. You kind of want to play 3 of it because sending it off of Tierra gives you multiple pops, which is just crazy. Then the last card that we have here in the extra deck is the triple Tierra. I think triple Tierra is completely necessary. Card's just too good not to play, and it's an Infernoid monster, so while it's in graveyard, you can banish it if you get it to graveyard to summon other Infernoid monsters. But that is the extra deck. We will hop over to the side deck now. I'm 50-50 on the first card because it can be interchanged between a couple things. So I have 3 Sphere Mode. You can play this, or you can play Lava Golem. You could play Nibiru. The only problem is when Nibiru is on your field, you're not going to be able to summon any of your Infernoids with their own summoning conditions because you have to have 8 or less levels on the field of effect monsters. But that's why I prefer playing the Sphere Mode, because you don't have to worry about that, and your normal summon really isn't that important in this deck, so you can get away with doing so. Then I opted to play one Denko and one Pankratops. I felt that they were just really solid one-ofs, and there are other cards that I'm playing in here that kind of play around certain back rows and things like that too. But I opted for this particular list to just play the one Denko and the one Pankratops, even though Pankratops you're going to play one of anyways. Basically, the Denko is what I'm referring to. Then I opted to play Triple Twin Twister. If you follow any of my deck profiles, you'll notice that typically I play Cosmic Cyclone. With this deck, I don't see a reason to play Cosmic Cyclone. You just kind of want to OTK your opponent, so I'd rather pop multiple back row with the Twisters and try and completely wipe through them. That way they can't do anything, and then I don't have to worry about their board, kind of overtaking mine with a bunch of back row. So I think Twisters is really good, and your deck basically works off of your graveyard, so Twisters is even better. Then the interesting package that I'm playing here is 2 mine and 1 set rotation. I think that this is a really, really solid choice to do with this deck because you can like flip mine and then you could like start to clear their board. Then you can summon a Deviati and you can get rid of the mine basically, which is crazy. And then obviously the set rotation just helps you get to your mine or your Into the Void, which is really good. Or a Lair of Darkness, I'm sorry. Then the trap cards that we play is 3 Evenly and 1 Red Reboot. I felt that playing 1 Reboot and 1 Denko was good. That way I have multiple ways to kind of play through my opponent's board, and I'm not drawing multiples of anything that I don't need to draw multiples of. And on top of that, I have so many other cards to out back row that I don't worry about it too much. So playing the Reboot and the Evenly, fully worth it in my opinion. Absolutely worth it. Even if you don't OTK your opponent, you can just set up a board that they can't play through for the following turn. But that is the main deck, the extra deck, and the side deck of my Infernoid deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. It is highly appreciated. And this is Team Yugi Fields signing out.